Alright, we're sitting down for this one. Long ass script. So recently I watched Magnus's creatine video, and towards the end he was doing his weighted pull-up max test. And I was genuinely surprised about the numbers he got because it was lower compared to mine. And he's garnered a reputation for being on the heavier side and being more of a stronger physical climber. So to see that I've had better ratios in my weighted pull-ups than him was surprising. My absolute 1 rep max was 75 kilograms and my 2 rep max was 65 kilograms, all at a body weight of 62 kilos, which calculates to 105% for a 2 rep max and 121% for a 1 rep max. Now, I've trained weighted pull-ups for most of my career and have hit a plateau maybe a while back, but over the recent summer months, or a while back, I started implementing periodization into it and have garnered much success. So in this video I'm going to talk over the topic of periodization and really be giving you the information from Dr. Mike Irzitel's book, Scientific Strength Training Principles with Applications to Powerlifting. However, we're going to apply it to climbing and weighted pull-ups this time. So it's a paid book and I'm just going to give you the information that I learned from this book to you. I'm also drawing from my kinesiology undergrad studies, and I'm predicted to be graduating a year early, so some credibility on my end. Essentially, you're going to be breaking up your training, aka a macrocycle, into 3 macro phases, and this will be hypertrophy or adaptation, strength training, and peaking. Each of these phases will last 4 weeks and include 3 weeks of training and a 1-week deload. So before we even start training, you need to know what your 1 rep max is. So go and find that. Your 1 rep max is then calculated as the weight that you add along with your body weight that you did with that weight. That is the absolute number that we will need and use to calculate all the intensities and volumes that we will need for each phase. Okay, the first phase is a hypertrophy phase. What is a hypertrophy phase and why do we do it? This phase is a lower intensity, higher volume phase which is meant to build working capacity and volume for you to be able to take the higher amount of stresses on your body for the later phases. The minimum amount of weight that you'll need for a hypertrophy phase is 60% of your 1 rep max. Anything lower than this, you're merely just moving weight, making yourself tired, and training more aerobic capacity things, not strength training. If you don't have the capacity to do a 1 rep max test, a simple test is take a weight, and if you're able to do it for 30 reps, then that's too low of an intensity for you to elicit any strength gains. The goal of this phase is for you to have an intensity where you can do anywhere from 8 to 15 reps for 3 sets. Essentially, what this means is by the time you get to that last rep of your last set, you should be close or if not reaching failure. You'll progressively overload this for 3 weeks and then take a 1-week deload off of this, where a deload week essentially means cutting your intensity and volume in half. Now, you might think this is detrimental to your climbing because you're going to get a lot of muscle gain and you're going to get heavy. However, since we're doing a bodyweight exercise and you'll be climbing alongside all this training, any strength gain will be an improved strength to weight ratio. I don't see any way of you getting worse at a bodyweight exercise by doing weighted pull-ups, which is already a bodyweight exercise. And if you are, then something's gone very wrong. At this point, you may be asking why we don't just go straight into a strength phase and rather do a hypertrophy phase first. Well, you totally can, but it wouldn't be the best way for you to maximize your gains. A hypertrophy phase will make you stronger. Applying the theory of progressive overload, you will be getting stronger over this phase. But what it really does is prime your body to take more volume within a strength phase for that neuromuscular stimuli. A strength phase is going to consist of an intensity anywhere from 80 to 85% of your 1 rep max. Depending on your first session in this phase, you're aiming for the rep ranges around 4 to 8 reps. So if you're going over this rep range or not reaching it, then you're either having too little weight added or too much weight added, and adjust accordingly. Most strength gains are neuromuscular adaptations, meaning to gain more access to more motor units and outputting more force. This will be the bread and butter of your training and where most of your gains and hard work should be dedicated to. Similar to the hypertrophy phase, you'll be progressively overloading this phase for the next 3 weeks with a 1-week deload. The aim of this phase is for you to get as strong as possible. Really try to maximize all of your neurological adaptations, really try to maximize effort and go into every session with the tenacity and grit that you have. Lastly is the peaking phase. At the beginning of the peaking phase, you should do a 1 rep max test again just to see the progression that you've made and also to calculate the intensities and added weight that you will do for this phase. This phase consists of doing 90 to 100% of your old 1 rep max for 2 sets, doing 2 rep maxes for 2 sets over this phase. Now at this point, you've tapered off so much that your volume is essentially so little that you won't be able to cause enough fatigue or exhaustion in your body for it to really affect your climbing. This is where you want to put all your goals and long-term projects to be at. You're going to have access to more pulling power and recruitment and thus have more power on the wall. Now, by the end of this peak, you would need to take a deload. Mostly by the end of each phase, you'll be feeling tired, fatigued, and maybe a little bit unmotivated, and that's what the deload is for. It's a preemptive way to save you from any sort of injuries that you might have from doing something that's unsustainable for yourself over a longer period of time. A peak is essentially your body going into super compensation, being able to perform beyond its baseline stats. Because of this, it's not sustainable for the long term. As a result, you need to deload in order to prevent any sort of injury from occurring, as well as take some rest to start the cycle all over again with the hypertrophy phase. And that's the best way to maximize strength gains according to modern scientific literature.